Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So we now begin with the session on the population growth and energy crisis. Before we begin, let me ask you that all of you are safe, your families, everybody is in a safe, healthy conditions, and I pray that everybody uh, is back to normal and we are able to uh, go back to the stages where we all are healthy. So, shall we start now, sir?
Yes, madam, please start. I already put.
Okay, okay. So we begin with population growth and energy crisis, very pertinent issue because with population growth, we normally study impact on environment and natural resources, but energy is something which drives our economy, which drives our living. So with the rise in population, how our energy is affected, the sources of energy. So, first of all, let us try to understand the linkages between population, environment, and development. The three are almost very well understood and known that with increase in population, there is a changes in the environment because we derive the resources from the environment, and on the other side of it, there is of course the discourse on development because development is something that improves our standard of living and brings back um, brings us to the forefront where we are able to have a life which is healthy, you can say, which helps us to grow economically prosperous, and also we are able to have a decent standard of living. So that is what according to economists is development. In all this course, population has an impact because development economically occurs with the help of the natural resources, by the fuels, by the energy resources, by the minerals, by improvements in agriculture, by improvements in manufacturing, industrialization, urbanization. All these are the tenets of development, you can say. So, population has an impact on the resources because with the rise in population, we need more land for agriculture, for settlement, for residential purposes, for raw materials, and also population has a role in consumerism because it is not just the number of the people on the planet which are playing havoc with the natural resources, but also how we are living, what all resources per capita consumption of the resources, how it is happening. That is the consumerism, or you can call it as an affluence. So economic affluence has a bearing on the natural resource extraction, and these two, the taking up of the natural resources from the environment and living a life luxuriantly which is based on the exploitation of the resources because uh, you know more than 50% of the world population is in the developing countries, but the share of the developed world is more than 70% when it comes to utilization of the resources. Then population is linked to poverty and unemployment, and it's a vicious circle. We say that the people are poor because they are more in number, the population is more, therefore poverty prevails. But on the other side, this is also true that because of poverty, it means additional hands to earn, and therefore it is actually becomes one of the causes of increase in birth rate, where for the poor people the more hands means more people means more hands to earn. So these are some of the very common terms, very common phenomena which are occurring, but they have a relationship with each other that needs to be very seriously researched, because at one end we say that the population increase is taking place not just because of the increase in birth rate, but also because of the fact that there is a more number of people in the reproductive age bracket. So when we have the young population more, because of population momentum, the population is increased. Now this age bracket of the population is also the working age population. This working age population, therefore, is meant and it is believed that it is the main driver of economy of any country. So now what is happening is that, therefore, it extracts the resources more. It has a different kind of an expectation in the form of the standard of living, in the form of you can say your lifestyle, and it has a different perception of the development. So in this session we are going to see that how at one end population is there, and how energy crisis or energy insecurity, energy poverty, these are some of the common terms which are related to the energy, and what is happening because of rise in population, which is very very uneven because we live in a demographic divided world. At some places the population is increasing, but there are certain places which are struggling because of aging population. So there the resources and the energy requirements are comparatively very different as compared to the country which is developing, because energy requirement in those nations will be of different nature. So, before exploring the energy constraints and other things, students, let us know how population growth, because this you must be aware of the stages of the population growth. From pre-industrial era to industrial era, and in the post-industrial era, you must be knowing that what have been the trends of the birth rate and the death rate in the past, and what are the birth rates and the death rates being predicted in future. So this is the demographic transition model, and it was interpretation which was done in 1929 by American demographer, and he predicted that the population growth follows a certain pattern. The determinants of population growth in the form of birth rate, death rate, migration, these all have an impact on the number of individuals at any given place. So when we say the birth rate is high, the death rate is also high, at that time the population growth is of a different nature as compared to the stage where we have controlled the death rate because of the improvement in the medical facilities, but the death rate, the birth rate continues to be high, so it leads to increase in the population. Why we are studying this in the context of energy is that you must understand that the changes in the population in different stages, stage 1 pre-industrial era to stage 4th, that is the stage of post-industrial era, you know there are different age groups. That means the composition of the population, the structure of the population is different in different stages. Where the elderly people are more in number, the expanding population is at another level, which is characterized by different stage. The energy requirements are very very different, the energy demands are very very different. So when we say that the energy crisis is taking place, it may be because of the different reasons altogether. So demographic transition is a tool which helps you to understand the growth of population in different stages across the world. And these the predictions of demographic transition according to the computer models, you can say, this explains that what will happen in suppose stage 4 or stage 5. What we are seeing today in the times of pandemics, in the times of environmental disasters, it has been predicted that there will be a stage where the death rate will be very very high and the birth rate will low. At that time there will be decline in the population taking place. So don't you think so that it has an impact on the energy availability and the utilization of the energy? So how does it affect all that? That presents a very interesting point of studying, that we base all our development on the energy which we get from the different sources. Now these sources may be renewable sources and maybe non-renewable sources. What happens in case the population parameters and the dynamics of the population change, then how does our energy requirements, how does our energy utilizations change with the change in these scenarios? So that also needs to be understood in a more holistic manner. Then we come to the point that before we begin with this thing, I think there is some problem. You must be knowing about the population aging, which we were just discussing just now, that aging population in Japan and other countries where we find that we have more number of the people who are elderly. So uh, different schemes, different because of the different types of the health of these individuals, this increasing and aging population have different kind of energy requirements. So whether they are fulfilled or not, that also needs to be kept in mind where we devise our energy plans. So this is the demographic dividend what I was just referring to now, that we are in a country which is, which is a youth country. We say that the median age of our country is suppose 37 years. So that means that the economy and the energy utilization, that must be in such way that we are able to reap the benefits of the demographic dividend. Let us not make it a demographic disaster, but it should be a demographic dividend where we are able to focus all our plans and strategies towards lot of investment in the field of health, in the field of education, in the skilling of the people, livelihoods of the people, because they are only going to determine what will be the future of the nation. And today's times, last 1 year, 1.5 year, and the times to come, they are presenting a different set of challenges before us. The population, the needs of the population, the living of the population has dramatically changed in the last few months, what we have seen. So it requires, different set of thinking, different set of utilization of the resources, and accordingly we also need to plan our energy budget accordingly. We have to see that what investments are being made in the energy sector, because the traditional forms of living, the traditional forms of commuting, for example, we say that we have a lot of requirement of the energy for the fuels. And in the times to come, with the current trends of work from home and other things prevailing, do we not need to check that what will be the energy demands in future be like, what kind of energy utilization will be done? So this is all possible, and this we cannot do this exercise about energy components, energy resources, unless and until we have a proper framework about the population in a given region, because energy is not something the resources, but to a large extent it determines the social setup of our region also. So it is a energy is also a social parameter apart from being an economic one. So socially, how we are living, how we are moving, what resources are we consuming, what is our lifestyle, that also gives us a clear cut picture of the energy requirements. The nuclear families, the joint families, take for a simple example, they have entirely different energy requirements, different energy consumptions also, because at present 58% of our energy needs are coming from the coal, which is the only form of energy which is used mostly. So do we need to check that? Do we need to utilize some modern forms of energy which are non polluting? How we are going to use those energy resources? What are the what are its main sectors where the energy is being used? Because suppose when we say that it is the residential energy requirement, for example, so energy requirement, if we say that for residential purpose this much of energy is required, here we also need to check that in that whole bracket of residential, how much of the energy is required for heating, how much of the energy is required for cooling, how much of the energy is required for lighting, for cooking. So this type of breakup and this type of exercise is very much essential in order to achieve energy efficiency for our household. This for an example, and the same applies if we consider the industrial sector. So when we plan energy budgeting, and when we do all these energy related exercises, we must have a proper roadmap. We must have a proper sector wise segregation of the demands of energy and the means by which those demands will be fulfilled. So with the population growth, there is an increase in energy burden also. We calculate the energy burden by knowing the household income and also the energy requirement. So we need energy to survive, that is very true, and also for a comfortable living. So it is also true that there is a high degree of energy burden today, because we not only use this energy for our survival purposes today, but we also need energy for making our life comfortable, convenient, and free of any hassle. So take any form of energy, whether it is your fuel that you have in your vehicles, whether using different type of electronic appliances, different type of, you can say, in summers we need to cool our houses, in winters we need to warm our houses, and all these are driven by the energy. We work, we are having online teaching learning. This is all possible with the help of energy. There are certain regions where electricity is not there in our villages. How do we cater to those sections of the people which do not have electricity, which do not have any form of energy? And in certain sectors, it is very true that India also suffers from energy poverty, where we do not have access to energy, or we do not have access to clean forms of energy. So here, IPAT equation, I must tell you that it was in 1971. Paul Herlich, he gave IPAT equation where he said that the impact on the environment, we began with the impact on the environment. So it is a function not just of the population, but it is also because of the affluence, the way people live, the way the resources are being consumed, the way the energy is being utilized. That is given by the technology aspect, because this is also true that with the use of proper technology, with the use of non-polluting sources of technology or the energy resources, there are quite possible chances that the load of the pollution goes down, because all the polluting sources of energy, you know, they are cheap, they are readily available, but they cause a lot of pollution. And the clean forms of energy, whether it is utilization of solar energy or other alternative forms of energy, they generally tend to have less impact on the environment as compared to the polluting sources of the energy. So this IPAT equation is very important for you to know, not just as a relationship between environment and population, but also you should think about it, that how it is important when it conveys the message that technology also plays a very important role when we say the impact on the environment because of human activities or human population. So technological aspect also needs to be well thought of and well planned. And we know that overpopulation leads to resource depletion, because you must have in other courses, in other sessions, you must have come across these terms, which is carrying capacity and biocapacity and sustainable lifestyle. Just my request is, look all these aspects. The terms are similar, but just look at these aspects from energy point of view. When we say ecological footprint, means how much uh, land or area being taken up by an individual to meet the requirements, you know. So when you calculate it from the energy perspective, you also know that how much energy it takes to to produce the food grains, to produce, to also to utilize the waste products, how the waste products is being taken up by different organisms and other things. So ecological footprint not only should measure the natural resource consumption in the form of land, water, and other resources, but energy considerations are also forming an important point here in the ecological footprint, because with agriculture, with water, there is also energy associated with it. When we say we use water for drinking, but then how that water comes, it also has an energy budget associated with it. And similarly, biocapacity means what is the biotically, you can say biologically, what is the productivity of that land within a certain area, whether it is an arable land or whether it is in pasture land. So again, also these are also the forms of energy, which so ecological footprint, carrying capacity, biocapacity also must have a kind of an energy analysis in them, that how much of the energy is being taken up when the agriculture is being done, what inputs are required, and how much are we getting out of it, if we say in terms of produce or yield, how much of it we are using. So what is the productive, you can say bioproductive supply, as it has been written here, from a given certain area. So are we getting energy back in some form of the other? That also needs to be understood very well. And we know that population growth is something, which has a bearing on the environment. We know it takes land, it takes water, it pollutes the air and other things, but it also has an impact on the energy resources. So what are your energy resources? Solar energy, wind energy is there, but most of our dependence is on coal, is on fossil fuels, or maybe in the nuclear fuel in the times to come. It has an impact in terms of population growth, which we have already discussed. That increase in the number, of course, it takes away the energy, and also the how the people are living, that also takes away the more forms of energy. There are social and economic consequences, because there is a great energy divide also in our country. You know how people use the energy in cities, how people use the energy in the rural areas. There is a marked difference. And energy also, in some way or the other, it defines your culture, it defines your way of living. There's a The way the cooking is done in different households gives a clear picture of how people use the energy, how energy, is differently available to different sections of the society. So it has a social and the economic consequences, and also it has an impact on those natural resources which are associated with the energy, you can say energy utilization, which are there. So for example, water may be used for producing the energy, or biofuels nowadays we are using for the production of the energy. So how increase in population has an impact on different forms of energy, you can say. So as I said, we were just discussing this very interesting thing, that how access to energy in society makes a difference. In different households, in certain areas, there is no mechanism of external energy support for uh, for heating, for cooling, or for other things. So it is also linked to socio-economic situation and ethnicity, and also linked to health and hardships. you know it's very common to see that how people live in the rural areas who do not have access to energy, and they are forced to bear the heat stress, the cold stress during winter. And here is very interesting phenomena, heat or eat dilemma, which has been given by the American researchers, and it clearly explains that when poverty is there, the poor people always have to make a trade off between heat or eat, because they do not have the access to so much of the resources that they are able to, apart from their eating, or you can say apart from their meeting their essential requirements, they have no money, no spare money, you can say, to devote on the energy requirements. So this shows the hardships in terms of collecting fuel, collecting fodder, living in a condition where excess temperatures are there, or very low temperatures are there, the way of cooking, the way of moving also, this, when the access to energy is denied to certain people, so the health impact is too much there. There are certain diseases which require proper temperature, which require proper ventilation, which need refrigeration. If these are not available, the health impacts surely are there, and also other hardships. And access to clean and safe water, as we have seen, where energy is not there, not provided, the people are also denied access to clean water, where the women have to travel long distances and get their water. And if at all there is, there is also, if it is not there, they are forced to consume the unsafe contaminated water. So these, all these terms are categorized as, researchers and policymakers have given different names to these situations. They may be fuel poverty, energy burden, you can say, because our energy burden is continuously increasing, and it is predicted that by 2050 our energy demands will be growing manifold with the current trends what we are witnessing. So when the energy demands are more, how we are able to meet those demands? So that also needs to be worked out with proper models, with proper plannings and strategies. So we were talking about energy poverty. What is energy poverty? It is characterized by unavailability of the energy resources. While we were talking about the people in the rural areas, they do not have access to electricity. They do not have access to any other form of energy which can give them comfortable living. Or they have the energy resources which are very polluting. You see how the cooking is being done in the villages. The poor women, how they are using the traditional forms of cooking, where a lot of smoke they are inhaling, and also making themselves prone to several respiratory illnesses and diseases. This is energy poverty, and this energy poverty is maybe because of unavailability, and also because of the usage of the energy, because energy, the cost of energy. Why it is said that poverty? Because energy, it costs to have an energy. So the cost is determined by maybe demand, maybe supply of the energy, maybe because of government regulations, maybe because of the other factors, for example, geopolitical factors dependent on the foreign sources. These are all, things where we are not able to utilize the energy resources, because they are also made available to us from foreign sources. Or lack of alternative forms of energy, lack of access and lack of awareness regarding the usage of alternative forms of energy. And if you talk about the energy utilization, we were saying that how energy is being utilized in agriculture, in industries, in household. We need to have a proper checks and balances, that how energy is being consumed by different sectors. So United Nations has launched Sustainable Energy for All initiative, and under this initiative, it has declared 2014 to 24 as the decade of the sustainable energy for all. So you must also be thinking that sustainable energy is not something which is
అది వాళ్ళది అది వాళ్ళది రౌతులు కాదు, నువ్వు ఎట్లా పెట్టి కొట్టినా ఒక గింత వాళ్ళు కూడా చూపించు.
energy problems here, and that clearly explains the role of energy, how we are taking the classes and how you are attending the classes as a bearing on our understanding also. So uninterrupted supply of energy at affordable price is energy security. So we are energy.
Excuse me, ma'am. आपके sitting position थोड़ा सा, we are not able to see your face properly. Yeah.
So
Yes,
how
that's.
we are able to have an uninterrupted supply of energy, that is very crucial, and that is energy security. And in this there are 4 R's of energy security. How to make our nation, our villages energy secure. That requires 4 R's. reviewing, that is understanding the problem of that region and energy demands and energy requirements of that region. Reducing is the second R, where less energy should be used, or in other words, energy efficiency has to be improved, so there is less wastage of energy during transmission. And replacing, shifting to secure sources means securing and using the cleaner forms of energy. And then restricting means limiting new demand, so that less demand on energy which are polluting and which are scarce particularly. So that is the 4 R's by which we can ensure energy security among the country. And there is energy insecurity, a situation where we are not able to provide the households or the industries with proper energy needs. So why there is energy insecurity occurring? Because of lack of energy access, and maybe because when the polluting or the unclean sources of energy are being provided, are being available before the people. So energy security is one of the base of the industrial output, what kind of output we are getting. So there are two forms of energy insecurity, acute and chronic. We must understand that there are certain regions and certain places where almost every time they are having short of energy. They do not have access to continuous supply of energy. This is the chronic energy security, which is long term. There are people who are always living in the houses which are very badly ventilated, or no ventilation is there. The rooms, the entire home is always cool. In winters, it becomes altogether more difficult. There are certain houses where it is permanently hot. So thermal comfort, you can say, it is not there. So in those areas, the energy demands and energy requirements are more. This is a situation of the chronic energy security, which is a long term issue with the energy, where the people are denied access to the different forms of energy on a long term basis. So they do not have adequate energy to meet their energy needs. What happens in the scenario? The asthmatics are there, the elderly are there, the children who are studying. Most of the time, since the house is not properly ventilated and well lit, most of the times they are dependent upon the external sources of energy. They have to put the lights on since morning. So this is the kind of the situation where you can see entirely different picture arising. Then there is acute energy security, which occurs on a small term basis or short term basis. For example, there may be hurricanes, there may be cyclones, there may be interruptions in the power because of the uninterrupted supply of energy. That can be restored, uh, uh, and that is an accidental energy insecurity which is happening because of some external barrier, external force, you can say, because of which the disruption in the power is there. So these two forms of energy, but particularly for the chronic energy security, has a long term implications on the health of the people who are residing in those places or are using those energy resources. So there are, in view of this, there are different dimensions of energy insecurity. There is an economic insecurity of energy. When I'm not able to pay the bills, when I have to make the trade-offs between whether I have to send my children to school or I have to pay for the energy for this particular purpose, for example, for driving, or using ACs in my home, or using a heater, or using a better LPG connection. So this is economic dimension of energy insecurity, where the financial thing comes into play, the affordability of the people comes into play. Then there's a physical energy insecurity, where I do not have the access. I have the poor quality housing, I have the outdated infrastructure, where the energy losses are more, or the environment is such that there is no light outside, whether the construction is in such way that most of the heat percolates. So this is the physical energy insecurity. And the behavioral energy insecurity relates to our strategies, our plans, and our means by which we are able to address the economic insecurity as well as the physical insecurity. So energy insecurity comes with it the different dimensions, by virtue of which the people are suffering from different angles, you can say. There are social determinants of energy insecurity. If we live in an energy insecure society, there are different determinants in the form of age and life course vulnerability, the age of the children, the age of the elderly, you know, they have different energy requirements. So if energy insecure environment, just now we were telling the example of a child who is always putting on light and studying, so that has an implication on the children. There may be elderly who want refrigeration for putting up their insulin in refrigerator, and there is no light, there is no power, so they may suffer because they may have the health aspect because of their age, you can say. Then education and literacy level, that is, you know, different class of the people have different requirements, and this also has a you can say social dimension when it comes to education literacy level of the people, where they have requirements of the energy in different forms, and if it is not available, if it is insecure, it may lead to different kind of consequences on their whole learning, on their whole jobs, on their livelihoods, and so on. The next point is employment, what I was referring to. There are lot many occupations today who need energy, who need light, you know, to do certain operations, but in case where it is not available, or it is uninterrupted, or it is not quality energy resource, it may hamper their more chances of earning. The socio-economic status, we very well know that how energy makes a distinction between different class of the people. Gender has a specific you can say impact of energy, what we have seen that how women suffer the most in case when the energy or you can say electricity or the power or some external source is not there, their hardships grow many fold, and many a times it has also been shown that energy insecurity is also
Yeah, energy issues. When she is teaching energy crisis, now she is having that experience, energy crisis. Let us wait. Some
Sir, I was
problem.
about to say the same thing. She is facing
Yeah,
the real crisis, yeah.
that is what I'm saying.
Practical implementation.
Yeah. So now we'll never forget this class. Salmanli, as I told to all of you, university is not yet extending this. I'm not sure whether they will extend it or not. But as far as this assignment concern, my advice to all of you is, since I already told you it is in our hand, so you can submit at any time before the term examination. Even you can submit after term examination, but in that case, the issues is that your batch means the term examination will goes to in December in another session. So that's why. So there is no issues. You can submit at any time. Yeah, as of now, we are accepting that. Right. Scan
there is any possibility to conduct serving examination on June?
University is
Date
well prepared
has
before
been
that.
announced, sir.
That
Sir?
see internally, what I can say is that before this second wave come up, we already prepared for that, but it depends on
Yes, sir.
Since Madam is teaching this energy crisis, she's
There
showing
is
by
an energy,
experiment.
there is an
She is
energy
doing
crisis
experiment.
in my home. There is energy crisis here.
She's showing with experiment.
Yes. Okay, so we were on, we have done this thing, energy dimension. So we were talking about gender. Yeah, that what I was telling is that gender has a bearing on energy crisis and energy insecurity, because most of the times they are involved in the household work. And it has been very interestingly, it has been seen that whether energy access, if it is at all provided also, most of the time they are not having the access, because the male members use it for their own entertainment luxury, and still they are also devoid of energy. That constitutes entirely different scope of study, where we see that how uh, energy insecurity prevails more among the gender, because even if say power is there, so they would prefer getting a television at home, but rather use it or provide some kind of a convenient energy resource for the women that hardly exists across the society. So that is also one of the important consideration. Housing is an important, what kind of housing we live in. And energy inefficiency we very well know, because of poor construction, because of outdated infrastructure, because of leakages, because of transmission problems, there are wastages of energy at different levels, right from production to transmission to the use of energy, that we have seen. So it also needs that energy is efficiently used when a task is being performed. That is energy conservation methods. These are very important for you and for every one of us to understand that how energy can be made efficient. So what causes energy crisis? Overconsumption is one of the important infrastructure. If it is not proper, the orientation of the buildings, if it is relying too much of the internal source of energy, rather the structure should be such that more and more solar energy and proper ventilation is done, so that reliance on the external source of energy is reduced. So that also leads to energy crisis. Extreme weather events, what we are witnessing today, is a cause of energy crisis. And accidents which takes place are also one of the important. Oil spills taking place, leakages taking place, these are some of the common accidents which we have seen in the past, which cause energy crisis. There is a power break. I just read through it. What are the effects of energy crisis? Power break, impact on economy, increase in oil prices and environmental pollution is one of the common effect of energy crisis. We need to adapt, mitigate and exploit some alternative source of energy, so as to make full utilization of the energy sources which are available. Using more and more promotion of public transportation to minimize our dependence on fossil fuels, promote clean energy, and using waste heat, particularly in the industries, for cooling purposes as a coolant we can use. So these are some of the means by which we can manage the energy crisis in different levels. Thank you so much. I just finished, so that before the power goes again, let me finish my presentation and now we can have the discussion.
Or,